and welcome to another episode of the Marco Podcast,
a show dedicated to the realness of organization and entrepreneurship. This space was created for every woman who needs motivation or inspiration to get organized and to keep going after her dream. I'm your host, Angel J. Sit back and prepare for valuable tips, resources, laugh, and much more. If this is your first time here, welcome and thanks for joining. If you've been hanging around for a while, welcome back, and I hope you brought a friend. On today's episode, I have a guest with me today. I have Robyn Reynolds. Robyn is a certified professional organizer, and she is based in the Los Angeles area. She works both in person and virtually, and she is the current president of the Board for Certifying Professional Organizers, also known as BCPO. She has been quoted in Real Simple Magazine, The Huffington Post, The Washington Post, Today, and Today.com, to name a few. When not organizing and harmonizing her clients, you can find her hanging out with her daughter and volunteering with nonprofits that are close to her heart. So let's welcome Robyn to the show. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks so much for having me.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for being here. Is there anything else you would like to share with the audience? So you're the second professional organizer that I've had on the show. So
oh, awesome.
Yes, so I'm ready to dive into it. So
all right, let's get to it.
Robyn, how long have you been a professional organizer?
Basically all my life, but I've had my company for 15 years.
Okay. And how did you, well, you said all your life, but how did you get into professional organizing? How did you get into organizing, I should say?
Well, it's something that just comes naturally to me. I always say, and, in working with my clients, we all have our strengths and our brains are all wired differently. Right. And this is just how my brain is wired, as well as obviously a lot of other people that are organizers as well, because it's not rocket science, but it is very challenging for a lot of people because their brains just aren't wired the same way. They have their other strengths, that I may not have. Like, don't talk to me about technology because I couldn't help you there.
I understand. That sounds like me
and math. From a gig, from anything else.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Like, no, like that's me and math. I'm like, you said what? No, thank you. I don't want to. Yeah. I don't want to talk about it. So, but talk organizing to me, and I'm good. So.
Yeah, exactly.
I get it. And so you actually have a professional organizing business. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. So I was quite some time ago, like 15 years ago, I never knew that organizing was a thing. And I was just reading a magazine. I had some personal stuff that was going on. I was getting divorced, becoming a single parent. It was a recession. There were no jobs to be had. And I wanted to find a new job. And I was reading a magazine and I found out about our national association, which is NAPO, a National Association of Productivity and Professional Organizers. And I was thrilled to death. I was like, oh my God, are you killing me? I could actually do this for a living. Like, I had no clue it was a thing, that it was something that you could do, and make money at. So I immediately went and joined the organization, had no idea how to start a business. I had always been an employee my entire life. And just kind of figured some stuff out, and here I am all these years later.
I know that there are different type of organizers. Like there's some who organize your house or your business, or so. What type of organizing do you do? What's your specialty?
Well, I only do residential. I don't do any businesses, but within that, there's still a lot that falls under the guise of organizing, because I also do moves for people. So I'll do all the packing and unpacking services. I do custom closet design and home inventories as well. So There's still a lot that falls under the header, let's say, of professional organizing.
Okay, I got you. And so with home inventory, like I know that that's a phrase that's been coming up a lot lately. I hear it on like a lot of TV shows that people say, oh, I have a home manager. And so how does that kind of work? Do you go in, do you like create a system for them and then they have to maintain the system, or do you go on once a month? How does that work with the home inventory?
Well, a home inventory basically is an accounting of the things that you own. And let's say that, God forbid, there was a fire or an earthquake, your home got, swallowed up by the earth or whatever, then you need to be able to file claims with the insurance company. I mean, there's a lot of different reasons why you would have a home inventory, but that's one of the big ones. And obviously I'm in California, where we have, fires on a regular and, earthquakes on the regular, because pretty much you have earthquakes every day, whether or not you feel them or not, that's another story. But, it's a way to account for everything that you own. Because if I asked you now to name every single thing that you own, it's impossible. You would never be able to do it.
No, not at all.
people will do it for maybe just the things that they have a value, or they will do it for every single thing. There's a lot of situations that come up where people want it done for. I've even had to do it because when people pass away, there were two people living in a house. Both of them had separate wills being left to different people. So they needed an accounting of what belonged to each person. So I had to inventory every single thing. And I mean, down to the paper clips, like a cup of paper clips,
Oh,
so,
wow.
how they were dividing stuff up. So there's a lot of different reasons, but that's in essence what a home inventory is.
Okay. Is that something that you would recommend for people to do a home inventory?
Oh, absolutely. Especially if you're in an area that you are prone to natural disasters, where you're constantly getting, every area in the country has something that they're prone to, but, let's say in the South, in Florida, they're always hit with hurricanes. You
Right.
never know when one is going to hit and just decimate you. Even you want to, and if you have to replace everything or at least get the value right, you want to get the value for what you own instead of the insurance company giving you the value for, if you own a Monet, you don't want them to give you the value for that piece of art that you got from Home Goods, because
Right.
obviously that value is going to be very different.
That
So,
makes
it's definitely valuable for everyone to do. And it doesn't have to be super detailed. You can even do it yourself, but I do advise having one for sure.
Okay. Yeah, because I live in Charleston, and so we get hurricanes. Like, thank God we haven't had a bad one in, a really long time. But that is something that I do. I'm like, the stuff that's in the house, you do think about that. And I think
Mhm.
I actually did see like that on a TV show as well. I think the house, and God, I hope this never happens either, but the house ended up getting robbed. And so, like, the home manager, the butler, whoever, he was like, oh, everything is in place except for like your watch or something like that is missing. And I'm like, he really had all this like written down, like he's walking through with his little
Right.
pad and his checklist. And I'm like, who has time for that? I was like, my organization stops like right about there, probably.
Yeah,
So
no,
yeah,
definitely. And a
yeah,
lot of times people will take like a basic like video of everything or of the entire home. But sometimes that's not enough for the insurance company, again, because it comes down to value, so you
okay,
want to know what you paid for something, even though something you may not get what you paid for it, you want to get as much as possible for
right,
it. If that couch costs you $5,000, you don't want them giving you $500
right.
because you're not going to be able to replace it in the same way. So it saves you in a lot of ways. And as we know in the country, there are areas that are constantly hit by tornadoes. There are areas that are constantly hit by, fires. And it seems to be changing all the time, or more and more is happening all over the place, every day, unfortunately.
Right. So yeah, I like that. That's definitely a good organizing tool and something to take into consideration. Because just even sitting here, like looking around, I'm like, if somebody asked me everything that was in the room that I'm sitting in, can I name everything in here that's like of value? And I'm just like, nope. Because I look up and there's like 5 things that I forgot to name. So
Yeah. But
that's a really good tip.
it doesn't even have to be a value, because the thing is that you paid money for it anyway. So it has some value. It may not be expensive or be super, valuable, but it has some value because you paid for it.
Right. That's true. That's very true. I didn't think about
Yeah.
that. So what is you said that you do custom closet designs as well. So with custom closet design, do you like go to the store and help them pick out like the built is it like built-ins that you're doing that you're helping them pick out, or are you just helping them to organize their closet? How do you go about
Now,
that?
designing and organizing are two different things. So when I
Okay.
talk about custom closet design, I am literally designing a closet for them. Sometimes it may be a store-bought system that we may be purchasing to install, and sometimes it may be, more times than not, it's a design that I come up with, and then I have my cabinet maker build it.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really cool. So
Yeah.
yeah.
When you think of, when you see stuff on TV, like with people that have these magnificent closets and whatever, that's the kind of thing that a maker will build.
Okay, got you. Okay.
Yeah.
And so what is like one of the worst things that you've seen when you're going in to like organize somebody's house? Like what is something that you're just like, oh my goodness.
One, I'll preface it by saying I have worked on the TV show Hoarders.
Oh,
So it
cool.
would definitely be a hoarding situation. And there are different levels of hoarders also. There is a hoarding scale. So the top level would definitely be the worst. And when I say the top level, that means that you are not living alone, that there were four-legged creatures living with you that are not pets.
Oh, gross. Ew. Oh, that gave me chills. Ew.
But
Oh.
unfortunately, I mean, no one really chooses to live like that. It is diagnosable as a mental illness now. So, but that's got to be the worst.
So now we have to talk about you being on Hoarders, because you did not tell me this on your guest form. Now I'm excited. How did you get started on Hoarders?
Well, years ago when I first started my business, my mentor worked on the show, so I would work on it with her, really.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
cool. And so how was it going in like those top level houses, like you said, with four-legged creatures that were not pets? Like, were you nervous, scared?
I mean, none of that. It's just, it's unfortunate. It's a very sad situation that this is how someone is living, and you just want to get it cleared up for them as much as possible and hope they get the help that they need so it doesn't revert back to it. Because I remember years ago, on the Oprah show, they had Peter Walsh was the organizer that was always on her show, and they had dealt with a hoarder. And I mean, the show's been off the air for many years. So this is probably 20 plus years ago on her show. And they had dealt with this woman that was a hoarder. And to look at her, you would never know it. She was very wealthy. She was very put together, whatever. They went in, cleaned up her house. And then when they did a recap, 6 months later, her house was back to the same way. And they had, I believe, if I remember correctly, they had enough because they were selling the stuff that they could to fill up like a warehouse that was 5,000 plus square feet.
Oh,
of
wow.
stuff. And this was all the stuff that came out of her home. Is unfortunate, but there's always some sort of reason why they're hoarding and why it takes place. And there's been, if you ever watch the TV show, you'll see the differences, or what happens with people. It involves a lot of loss sometimes. The hoarding, it doesn't get filled, just like a black hole, you can't fill it. So it just keeps coming in thinking that it's going to help, but it doesn't.
A mental illness, and that it is an underlining issue with it.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, no, that's really just interesting that you worked on that show. And so you got to see all of that firsthand.
Yeah.
So what does clutter cost?
Okay. So I don't know how I came up with this. It's you over the years, you just find yourself saying different things, learning different things or whatever. But there's a thing that I always say to my clients that I'm now writing a book about. And it's the name of the book, the working title is what's your clutter costing you? And I always say it's time, space, money, or energy. Okay. It's always going to be one or more of those things. Okay. So is it costing you time? Is it costing you space? Is it costing you money? Is it costing you energy? It can cost one or all of those things. And oftentimes it's probably all of them. So I'm in the process right now of writing a book about that.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I like that. And it does. I mean, I did an episode about it, like costing you time and money, because clutter and not being organized, you're going out and you're buying extra stuff that you don't need because you don't think that you have it, because you can't find it. Exactly. Or you're wasting time looking for stuff or trying to get stuff together. So I definitely time. And then I didn't even think about like the energy part of it, because now you have to put energy into trying to find these things or trying to put stuff together. And you may have so much clutter that you're wasting space. So I'd never thought about the other two of them. So and what are so if there's someone out there that's just like, okay, I know that I have a lot of clutter going on. I really want to get it organized and get it together, but I don't know where to start. What are some suggestions or simple tips that you can give them to get started?
Well, they can, of course, hire an organizer if they can't do it on their own. But, I always say it's like weight loss. The clutter didn't happen overnight, so it's not going to get cleared overnight. So you have to be gentle with yourself, and you have to go in small doses. You have to start a little bit at a time. I always say start in one room and complete that room before you go on to somewhere else, because if you keep jumping from room to room, you're not going to see the progress. And if you don't see the progress, you're going to feel defeated and not want to continue. But when you start in a room, start with the tabletop, start with the floor, start with one little area that you can do. And then once you finish that, you may feel motivated to continue, or you can just come back to it the next day. Whether it's a corner, whether it's the chair full of clothes, whatever it is, you just want to start small and then keep going from there.
Cool. Awesome. I like that. Well, Robyn, I have enjoyed our conversation. I have enjoyed chatting with you. Is there any other tips or tools or resources you would like to share with the audience?
Well, the other thing is, well, one thing that I'm working on are digital courses also, because not everyone can afford to hire a professional organizer.
Right.
But I always say you can't afford not to,
Okay.
But if you really can't, that's why I'm creating the digital courses, so that it is a kind of step-by-step guide to be able to do it yourself for the entire home.
Okay.
When you talk about what clutter is costing, it's like, what is it costing you not to have somebody to help you? Because no one wants to be stressed out when they're looking in their home. Nobody wants to be, overrun by all the stuff that they may have in their home. So, it's not the way we're meant to be living. There's a reason that people live the way that they do, and it may not be intentional. It may not be on purpose, but it's still the reality. So you want to get as much help as possible. And there's a lot of places that you can find organizers. As you mentioned, people work in person and virtually. So we can always help. Virtually is another good way to afford working with a professional, so that, because the time commitment is less, because you're doing the work yourself. We're kind of acting as a coach, and then you're doing the work yourself. When you want the help, there is help. It's just a matter of you knowing where to go to ask for the help.
Well, thank you so much. And will you tell my listeners where they can find you at?
Oh, absolutely. So you can always reach out to me on Instagram at Organize to Harmonize, and that's the number 2. And my website is the same, Organize to number 2, or harmonize.com. You can sign up for, I have a great freebie on there of lose 20 pounds of stuff in a day. So you can get that quick download. And, if you need anything, just reach out. I'm happy to answer questions or whatever. Contact me in any way you feel is appropriate for you.
Okay, awesome. And I will make sure to link all of that down in the show notes as well, and to mention the freebie to lose 20 pounds in a day. So awesome. Well, Robyn, thank you so much for being on the show. I appreciate it, and I have enjoyed our conversation.
Thank you for having me. It was fun. I love talking about this stuff.
Yes, me too. It's, like I said, organizing, it makes me happy. So I'm glad we got to chat about it.
Yes, for sure.
Practical and helpful. If you like podcasts that are full of practical tips you can actually use, this one is for you. Thank you so much, and I hope that I'm saying this right, from Slin Foriferous for that review. I really hope I'm saying that right. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Mod Code Podcast. I hope that you enjoy this episode and learned something from it. Be sure to share this episode with a friend, family member, colleague, or anyone that you think will enjoy it. Make sure you also hit the like and subscribe button. If you love the podcast, please leave us a 5-star rating and review on the podcast app you're tuning into. That helps others to find us and gets us listed in other shows' recommendations. And if you would like to financially support the podcast, you can click on the listener support link in the episode show notes. Thank you so much, and I'll talk to you next time.